Good morning everyone and welcome to the show. Today we have a tool review. Fernando, you excited?
I'm excited.
He's always excited. What tool might you ask? But none other than the AudioControl DM-RTA. This guy. Now the DM-RTA is a tool for installers like you, whether you're a hobbyist, a professional, to take your game to the next level. But before we get to the hows, the whats, and the whys, let's go ahead and pull it out of the box and show you all the pieces that it has and all the pieces you need to have in order for it to function. So after coming out with their new DM software, the DM-608, the DM-810, they saw that that software was unique in that they might be able to use that to create a tool. This one here is a beta of the tools. You can see it's not ready for prime time yet, and they sent us this to do some testing on it, and we helped them out. And what this turned into is this guy here, the fully functional DM-RTA. Now the name says RTA, real-time analyzer, and it does so much more than that, which we're gonna show you in the video. But let's talk about the inputs and outputs that are on the unit. First up, it has an XLR input. It has a Phantom 48-volt power supply built into it. This is gonna be for the testing mic that you're gonna need. It has 1/4-inch inputs and outputs. AudioControl does home audio as well as car audio, so this is also helpful if you're in the home audio world. You have unbalanced or RCA inputs and outputs. You have a digital output and a fiber output, as well as a USB output, a volume knob, speaker level input, and their expansion port. For the USB, there is a thumb drive built into this that has pink noise, test tones, and polarity checker already on it. But you can also use it to import all your test music. So if this will plug into the unit you're testing, you can have all your music right there and ready to go. Now on the top side of the DM-RTA, you have your USB connection to go to your laptop here. And then on this side is your input for your charger. This plugs in here. This does have a battery in it, so it does not need to be plugged in. However, if you are using it and it does go dead, this will keep the unit functioning. Then lastly is the power switch. Turn the unit on, you press and hold the power switch. The light will come on. To turn the unit off, press and hold again until the unit shuts off. There is also a charge light indicator as well as a USB communication indicator to show you that it is paired to the device. The expansion port is for this guy here, the AC BT24. This is the Bluetooth dongle that they make that plugs into this, and what this will allow you to do is pair it up with an iPad and do all your adjustments remotely. Speaking of iPad, you might be asking, well, what does this connect to? Well, as most of you can guess, it's going to connect to a Windows laptop, and as I just said, it'll connect to an iPad or a tablet. It will also connect to an Apple box, my preferred method of laptoping. So it'll do all three and Android. So you have plenty of options to choose from when pairing up to your DM-RTA. So now you know how you're going to display the DM-RTA's information. There's a couple other accessories you are going to need in order to get the full functionality out of your DM-RTA. First off, you're going to need an XLR microphone. They make the CM10 and they make the CM20. Either one of them will do the job for you. Along with that, you will need an XLR cable in order to attach the microphone. Would be a good idea to pick yourself up a spare set of RCAs so that you can attach to your inputs and outputs here. We've also picked up a set of test leads that we've removed the ends off of and gone ahead and attached them to the speaker level input plug here so that we can do some metering. Now in case you're wondering, they also send an owner's manual with it that'll go ahead and explain general functionality of the device for you. But if you don't want to read it, just keep watching. We're going to talk all about it. So let's head over into a car and start using some of the functionality that's built into it. We're going to plug this into the laptop and we'll talk about the software and what it's capable of doing. Now when you plug in your unit, you'll get a pop-up on there that says hardware is now online. Go ahead and select OK, and then you have launched the software. You'll also, as I said, see the USB light indicator in blue lit to tell you that it is paired with your laptop. All right, so let's take a look at the software real quick. As you'll notice, we have a voltmeter, an RTA, an SPL meter, a polarity checker, and an oscilloscope. Today we have a Volkswagen Jetta in that has the three-way set in the door. It has a tweeter here, a mid-range here, and a mid-bass here. But it could be any car that you're working on in the bay, it doesn't matter. And what we want to do is we want to check the polarity of this three-way set before we we go ahead and replace them with an aftermarket. The reason why is we want to see if the crossover is doing anything weird to these three speakers. Meaning, is the mid-bass out of polarity with the mid-range and tweeter? We don't know. In some cases, you'll be doing installs where the dash speakers or the high-frequency mid-range will be out of polarity with the mid-bass. Knowing this going into it will help you when you're going to add in your speakers. You may want to leave them out of polarity. You may want to flip them back in polarity. But without knowing, well, you might not be able to do the best job you can. What we want to do is go ahead and use the polarity checker feature in this. There's a couple different ways we can use it. It has the audio track already built into it. So if the car you're working on has an auxiliary input, you can just use an RCA to aux jack, put the radio on aux, go to your app, select polarity checker, select the microphone from our drop-down menu. We also want to go ahead and turn on the 48 volts for the phantom power. And then we want to click start measurement. A pop-up warning will come on that says, this will generate output signal. Please make sure that your volume is set to a safe level. Would you like to proceed? We'll select yes. Now on the unit there is a red 48 volt light that will turn on. If that's not on, then your microphone won't have power. So we have sound. Now we just take our microphone and go to our speaker. So now we know that this tweeter and this mid are wired backwards to the woofer in the door. The rear doors in this also have a tweeter and a woofer. Let's go ahead and test those as well too and see what kind of reading we get. Tweeter is giving us the same negative reading and the subwoofer is giving us a positive rating. So now we know what the factory has done to the audio, good or bad, and we can use that information to better our install. Next, what we want to do is go ahead and see what each one of these is doing. See what kind of sound is coming out of that. For that, we can go to our RTA. We'll select RTA from the top menu here. We'll go ahead and select pink noise. This is going to play a pink noise through that same aux jack that we were using. Now we can go ahead and take our mic and we can go to the speaker and we can see what kind of frequency each speaker is doing. Here's what the mid-range output looks like, and here's what that subwoofer output looks like. If it's all happening really fast, you're like, I didn't see that. If you come up here, it says F, M, and S. If you select M, well, that's medium speed, and S is slow speed. Next to that, you'll see where it says RTA memory. Click on that. You'll see now it has 6 stores. What we're gonna do is we're gonna play the pink noise again, and this time we're gonna store each one of them. And that'll allow us to go back and see what they look like on top of one another. We have the tweeter output, we'll store as 1. Go ahead and select yes. We'll select store 2. Yes. Then we'll go to our woofer. Select yes. So now we have all 3 outputs and we can go back and look at them. Let's do that. Select RTA memories. We'll select recall 1 compared to, let's look at recall 2, the mid-range. Very little mid-range coming out of this. We'll recall 3. And there's our subwoofer. Now if we come back and let's recall 1, and then let's go ahead and play the same volume we were at, and let's look at the mid-range actively while we're looking at the ghosted image of 1. So this will help us figure out where that crossover point is, having these 3 bands of information is. In this case, we're going to be replacing the radio, so our job here is easy. However, what if you weren't replacing the radio? What if you were keeping it and you had to go ahead and you had a 3-way active front stage here? By knowing what each one of these outputs is, we can figure out how we're going to sum them together if we need to do that. We haven't taken anything out of the car yet. This is strictly just testing the audio side of things. This is something you can walk out into the parking lot, plug in, play some sound, and get kind of an idea of what's going on in the car. Now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and take the car apart and see what kind of signal is coming out of this radio. Say we want to add in a subwoofer. We need to know what that signal looks like electronically. So let's take a look at it that way. We have the driver's door already off. Now we want to switch to our test leads for this test. We want to come up to our input and we want to switch that to speaker. We're going to plug in our leads. We'll go ahead and turn up pink noise, and with the unit on RTA, we can see the signal that's coming out of the radio. This is what's feeding into the crossover network on this car. It's pretty EQ. That's leading to believe he might have the bass and treble adjusted. Unfortunately for us, his display screen's broke, so we can't go in and actually flatten them out. We also know if we're just adding a subwoofer, there's going to be plenty of bass on this channel for us to work with. Most of the time when we add a subwoofer, we use some form of a high level to low level adapter, and each one of those has a voltage rating on them, meaning how much power can pass through them before they overheat and, well, catch on fire. It happens. Now we can go ahead and select the voltmeter. We're still plugged in, so now we can go ahead and turn the volume back up. So as we can see, when we turn up the volume, we get about 7 volts of output. Now that we know that, we can compare that to the input voltage of our high level to low level adapter we're using and make sure it falls within the capability of that. Now some amplifiers also have high level capabilities built into them. You want to make sure that it is below that as well. Let's go ahead and do the same test over again, but this time we'll just play a test tone and see what it looks like. Pick our 40 hertz test tone, but it's continuously variable anywhere on here. You can pick whatever frequency you want. Turn it up again, see what we get. And we see that we're getting somewhere in the 8 volt range of output, a little bit more voltage. Now one of the tests we can do with this is clip, meaning we're playing this, where does it clip at? How loud can this system be turned up to? For that, this has an oscilloscope built into it. So we'll go ahead and we'll select oscilloscope. And we still have the sine wave capability, the pink noise, the square wave, all right here. We'll leave it at 40 hertz. We can go ahead and turn up our volume. So you can see as we turn the volume up while playing that 40 hertz, it sounds good. You see that nice round shape, which is what you want to see. And then one click more, it starts to flatten out. One click more, it's even flatter. Now we know on the volume where that's going to go ahead and distort. We can use that information to set up our system properly. So just by connecting into 2 wires in the car for our test, we have 3 very important bits of information. By using the RTA, we know that there is signal there for us to connect up high level to low level. We know what it looks like, so it is going to need some form of an EQ if we're going to be using it to go into a 4-channel amplifier or whatnot. We also know the output voltage, so we know which high level to low level adapter to use. And now we know where the radio clips because of the oscilloscope. Connecting to the same 2 wires that we're connected to, we could also learn something very valuable from that. A big hot button topic right now is ANC, and what they're introducing is some form of a signal into the musical signal path that we're using to amplify. Another thing that they're doing is putting in some fake exhaust noise, growl. Certain manufacturers pipe that into their speakers to make it sound more aggressive inside the car. So along with killing the external noise, they've gone ahead and added their own noise. Lots of fun, I know. Can you test for that? Well, of course you can test for that. Why couldn't you test for that? It's easy to do with this and using the RTA feature. So what we'll do is we'll go back to this and we'll select RTA. And we'll make sure the sensitivity is turned up. Tapped into those same 2 speakers, what we want to do is hop into the car and close all the hatches, meaning close the trunk, close the hood, close all 4 doors, roll the windows up. Everything's got to be closed because that's when this stuff is activated. Once we do that, we'll go ahead and start the engine, leave the radio turned all the way down. It doesn't even need to be on in most cases, and we'll rev up the engine and we'll see if we get any noise. We have RTA, turn sensitivity all the way up. We're on speaker input. Now we just want to go ahead and turn on some form of a sound to make sure we are onto the speaker output. So as we can see, we have signal. It means we're tapped into the speaker. Go ahead and turn the volume all the way down on the radio and rev up the motor and take a look at the RTA. And where you really want to concentrate is on the lower frequencies. That's where it's gonna, and it's just gonna come up like a wave if it has it. And I'm not seeing anything. Which is good, because that means this doesn't have it. Now we can also come over to the voltmeter. The voltmeter will change because even though there's no signal coming into it, we can see it as well. We'll rev it up again. And we're getting no voltage change. That means this car has no ANC. Now at the beginning of our install, we know a ton of information from just using this one tool. Though there are tools out there, let me show you. Most of the functionality of these tools can now be done by using the DM-RTA. Now that we're done with the install, it's time to bring the DM-RTA back out. First thing we want to check is polarity to make sure that we have all the speakers we installed going the directions we've chosen. For this, we've gone ahead and plugged in the Bluetooth dongle, and this will allow Fernando to sit by the car and test all the speakers while I meter it from the iPad. For this, we are going to be using a disc with a test track on it. Now keep in mind, when using the Bluetooth, there is going to be a slight delay. In this, it clicks positive 3 times and negative once. So now that we're done with the polarity test, we can go ahead and switch to using it as an RTA. For that, we'll still connect it to the Bluetooth. We can now put the microphone in the car, like so, put our DM-RTA on the floor, and start playing your pink noise track. And now we can head to the trunk where we have the iPad set up here, and this is doing the DM-RTA, and then over here we have the software for our amplifier. So this is the DSP, and this is the signal that's coming into the amplifier, and this is what's coming out of the speakers. For this, we've just so happened to be using a AudioControl amplifier, so we can see the signal coming in, the signal going out, and then the third, which is the RTA from the microphone. We can go into our EQ, and we can start adjusting. If you come back over to the DM-RTA software, if you'll notice right here, it says 1/3, 1/6, 1/12. If we tap that, we can adjust how fine we want the resolution to be. Now you can also jump over to 1/12 to get an even finer resolution. Now what we want to do is take a look at a totally different car. This is a Mustang GT with a shaker system in it. In this car, if you come over here and you look into the kick, that is the factory amplifier. So there's a hierarchy of things we're going to use this to test for, and as we test through those, we may or may not need to go on to the next test. The first test we're going to do is the signal coming from the factory radio, this guy, going over to that amplifier, variable voltage. Variable voltage means as you turn up the volume control, the output signal coming from that factory radio going to that amplifier moves up and down just like it would on a preamp section going from a aftermarket radio to an aftermarket amplifier. So let's test that first. The DM-RTA to RTA. At the top here, we've selected speaker as our input. As you can see, there's already signal showing up here, which is a good sign. And we'll turn up the volume. And as you can see, it increases and it decreases. Select S and we can slow it down. Now we'll turn it up. And as we can see, we actually have a pretty level output coming from that factory radio. And of course, it is variable voltage. We know at this point we have a clean output. We're going to use the voltmeter on this to see what kind of signal output voltage we have that's going to be feeding our amplifiers. We're going to leave those same 2 wires connected. Come back over to the computer. We have our volume turned all the way up, playing 1000 hertz. You can see the output voltage coming over the signal. So we almost have a 2-volt signal with the radio maxed all the way up, playing at 40 hertz. And we can see the output voltage has increased just a little bit. So as you can see, using the DM-RTA right when it gets into the install bay, as well as using it after you're done with the system for tuning, it is an awesome tool. We've saved ourselves a ton of time right off the bat. We've had this car in the install bay about 15 minutes, and already we know we have a variable voltage output that we can go directly into our amplifier with. It's a clean output voltage. It's almost perfectly flat. There's a lot you can do with this new tool you're going to add to your arsenal. So we hope you enjoyed this review of the DM-RTA, and we hope you find it extremely useful for what you're doing. If you find something cool to use it for, make sure you add it to the comments below so that everyone else will know what you used it for, and that'll make their jobs even easier. Thank you for watching as always. You guys have a great day. We'll see you later next time.